Hey guys, Tacoma Cyclist here, and with me as always is the Boogie Man. He's getting a little taller, so now we're both in frame. Alright, so today we're going to talk a little bit about training, and most importantly we're going to talk about fitness. Like, what does it take to actually be fit going into race season? So the Boogie Man and I have been doing a lot of structured training over this winter season. And I'm going to show you some kind of training curves here. I'll show you where our fitness and freshness has been over the course of our winter season. We really started focusing on our structured winter training around the October-November timeframe. We took the October-September timeframe to really focus on just riding and having some fun. End of October, moving into November, we started focusing on getting back into training so we could be in shape for this upcoming race season. Our race season starts at the end of February. First race of the season is an individual time trial coming up very shortly. We're really looking forward to doing that, and then straight into road races with lots of climbing. Yay us. So we're going to look at our fitness and freshness curves, both in Strava and in the Boogie Man's Training Peaks. They interestingly show two different things. So I don't use Training Peaks, but the Boogie Man has a coach, works with a coach, and they use Training Peaks for that. So you're going to see we have two different curves for him. His fitness in Training Peaks is better than his fitness in Strava, and I actually tend to believe Training Peaks a little bit more. I think their calculations are a little bit better. We're going to show you what those curves are, what they mean, what is too fit, what is good fitness going into race season, and then hopefully this race season we'll both be able to show you, because the Boogie Man and I are both working on trying to get some points for upgrades for category upgrades, catting up. Stay tuned for more videos throughout the season, because the Boogie Man and I are going to show you some of our races. We're going to do some walkthroughs for some of our races for the season, and hopefully we're going to show you some top 10 finishes, maybe even some more podium finishes like we had last year, which was fun, and then see about getting some upgrades for the both of us. So let's take a look at those charts real quick.
So first things first, let's find the charts, and we do that by going to your Strava account. And you don't have to select an actual race or a ride. You just go to your training tab and you scroll down to fitness and freshness. Now you do have to have the premium Strava account for this, but if you do, then you have access to this. Now what you're looking at here is a curve for all time, and you'll notice that it goes in peaks and valleys throughout this time, which is kind of to be expected. You know, you have some off seasons and some training times and races and stuff. The red dots that you see are any race, anything that I tagged as a race on this. So you can look at some specific examples here. I'm going to actually select one here. This is, let me choose this one here. Oh, missed it. It's hard to select some of these. The one that I was hovering over there, see if I can get it selected, is a Pacific Raceways event where I took first place, so that means that I was in relatively good fitness at that point, and you can see that my fitness level there is about 55 with my fatigue about 52. Now the way that these calculations work out is actually pretty simple. It bases it on your performance, and if you do a lot of workouts, a lot of training, then your fatigue may be pretty high, but if your fatigue is really low, then chances are you've got a dip in your fitness too. Now, if you look here, this is actually a race, a stage race that I did, and notice my fitness is about the same. My fatigue is much higher, and that's because I did a lot of racing back to back at that point. So what you're going to find, though, is that, again, if your freshness is high, or in other words, if your fatigue is low, then you may find that that your fitness actually takes a little bit of a dip, and that's okay. That just means that you're rested, and sometimes you want to taper a little bit before an event so you're not fatigued. Now we're going to look at the Boogie Man's here, and again we're going to look at the training curve for him, or the fitness and freshness curve for him as well. Now what's important to note here is his and mine look similar. So we have a very similar fitness level. That doesn't mean that our FTPs are the same. In fact, his FTP is about 4.5 to 5 watts per kilogram. Mine's only a little bit above 4 watts per kilogram. So it stands to reason that this is relative to you, not to other people. So if you see that your fitness is, in his case, 69 and mine is 68, that doesn't mean that he is going to be faster than me by nature. It just simply means that maybe at this point in time, relative to his fitness, particularly around his heart rate at certain power outputs, that his fitness is higher for him than mine is for me. Okay, now a couple things to take into consideration about this. Like I said, I've got this set for all time, and if you go back through history, this is where I first learned how to ride a bike, which is a few years ago. Obviously took a long time off there, so fitness went down to a whopping 0. Same thing happened again, moved into the summer months, did a little bit of riding, had some fun. Fitness dropped off to near 0. Peaks and valleys here and there. And then this is really where I started getting into racing just a couple years ago. So my first couple races, which were kind of hilarious actually, embarrassingly so. 29 fitness, 40 fatigue. Really got my butt handed to me on those, and that's fine. I mean, the first couple seasons of racing, you're supposed to get your butt handed to you, but you'll notice that it would peak up here towards the end of summer and then drop off. So by the time you got into the winter time frame, it was just abysmal. I guess I did some riding here through the fall, but then really, winter, just nothing. No fitness. Pretty even fatigue there, and then you jump back into race season again. In fact, the first race of that season, really low fitness, really high fatigue rate there, and did okay in this race. So that tells me that I could perform on a lower level of fitness, which is true. A lot of times, really, racing is not about how strong or how fit you are, but really how you enable some of the strategies within your race. So this is a good example of that. I was really tired, not very fit, but I did okay in that particular race. I remember that one. There's actually a video of that race on my channel here. So fast forward through the rest of the season, and actually, interestingly, right here, 7/21, and it's not going to show, 7/21, July 21st, that was the day that I got hit by a car really bad, broke my leg in several places. So you notice the fitness drops off from there to nothing, right? And that's because I didn't even get on a bike. Actually, there's a couple little ones here, and that's where I was doing like one-leg drills and stupid crap just to keep my heart motivated. But you'll notice my fitness was pretty low given that. So that's to be expected. And then I started healing up. I was able to get back on the bike. And really around November, December timeframe of last year, not this year. So this is 2017, not 2018. I started getting back into shape, started riding again, got back on the road, entered race season. Decent level of fitness, actually better fitness, even after getting hit by the car, better fitness going into race season last year, or this past season than I did the year before. But the point of this is, you notice the upward trajectory. There's a lot more races this year. Cool. It was a great race season. I enjoyed it. But you'll notice there's a lot of fatigue associated with that, and that's because when you race a lot, you're going to get really tired really fast. You need rest days to bring that fatigue down. If you just are constantly riding, constantly racing, you're going to be fit, but you're also going to be really, really fatigued. So you want to make sure you balance that. Now, here's the important part. If you notice, like I said, really September, October timeframe, we're really just focusing on having some fun, right? Not really killing it. So right towards the beginning of September, we did a Grand Fondo. We were in really good shape. This was a particularly hard Grand Fondo, 100 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing. Weather wasn't great, but it was a great Fondo. Fitness was great, but look at that fatigue. Just absolutely gutted. By the time I was done with that, it was time for rest, right? The body was telling me it's time to rest. And that's why you see this next valley here. And this is really the Boogie Man and I just riding around town, having some fun, not doing too much, so that we could bring some of that fatigue down. And you can see there's actually some really good examples right here where the fatigue is super low, had some great opportunities to get some rest. But notice the fitness isn't that much lower. I could certainly race with 52 fitness. And again, 52 doesn't mean anything. It's not like if I have 52 and you have 52 that we're equal. It's relative to you, your heart rate, and how they do the calculations. So it's kind of arbitrary, but it's meaningful to you. And that's what's important. Don't try to compare your fitness to somebody else's fitness. It doesn't work that way. So this is about the point in time where we decided to start getting back into structured training. So early November, we started doing some Zwift races. We started doing a little bit more targeted efforts. You'll see some, starting to improve here, and that's because we're starting to do maybe some more races. This is a Zwift race. And then we're talking about, active recovery days, trying to bring that fatigue down a little bit, and then really getting back up to the point where we are now. Now, if you want to zoom in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and just do last 6 months. And you can see that trajectory there. So you got this nice valley of rest. Again, you have to take rest. You can't just plow right on through it. It's good for your body to take the rest. It's good for your mind to take the rest. You want to enter race season fresh. If we were continuing this trajectory, and maybe I was able to get my fitness up to 75, 78, 79, which is entirely possible, my fatigue would probably be there too. And right now you'll see my fitness and my fatigue are pretty even. And that's because we've been working our way up, specifically because we have our team training camp next week. We're heading down to Malibu. We're doing, anywhere between 50 and 100 miles a day with 6,000 to 11,000 feet of climbing every single day for 5 days in a row. We're working towards kind of a taper in that case. So last night's workout was a little bit hard. Tonight's workout will be a little bit easy. And then we have Friday and Saturday. Both of those will either be rest days or days off completely. Fly on Sunday, and then we ride, do our team training camp on Monday. So we want to enter that training camp relatively fresh. Yes, our fitness will be low, but by the time we finish that training camp 5 days later, that fitness will be dramatically higher. But so will the fatigue. And then we enter race season. We got a race, a week after that, or a week and a half after we return. So we want to make sure that we're not burning all of our season's matches before we even get to that first race. So we'll do a little bit of tapering before that first event. And then end of February, going into March is full swing. So we've got like 7 races in March, maybe as many as 10 if we do a stage race that we're thinking about doing. So you want to focus on, giving yourself a little bit of time to recover through those winter months. Get your fitness, it's okay if it dips a little bit, but you want to see things like that. You want to see your fitness higher than your fatigue. If you're fatigued through the winter, going into race season is just going to be tough. We're going to look at the Boogie Man's fitness and fatigue here, and you can see this goes back. He only started using Strava a couple years ago, or Strava Premium a couple years ago, so he's got a little bit less data to go from. He also doesn't mark all of his events as races. I'll have to get on to him about that, but that's okay. But you can see, again, same kind of trajectory here. I'm going to zoom in to the last 6 months, and you're going to see that same kind of valley here from October, really September, kind of. There was a peak here for something. That was that Grand Fondo. Again, look at that fitness and fatigue. 91 fatigue. He was fit, but he was super tired by the time we were done with that. But notice that fatigue is going down and going down and going down. There's peaks every once in a while. No big deal. Now, what's important to look at here is if you look at this, if I can get that uncluttered, it may not unclutter. Today is February 7th, so I'm highlighting February 7th here right now. This is a prediction. This is not, so we haven't ridden today. We will, but we haven't ridden, and once we do ride, it will update this. I'm willing to bet it's actually going to show a higher fitness than 69, and I'm willing to bet it's also going to show a higher fatigue than 67. So if you highlight today's date on this, just understand it's a prediction. If you haven't ridden yet, it's just a prediction. If we go back one day, if it'll let me, it's kind of an annoyance. There we go. You can see his fatigue was quite a bit higher. And that's because we had several work days in advance here. He had a VO2 interval session yesterday. Fitness of 71, fatigue of 78. That's not that out of balance. Being a little high on your fatigue, not the end of the world. 71 fitness for him is great. And honestly, we're going to enter race season. He's going to be super strong and is going to do awesome in the adult 4 or 5 races. So this is the Strava component of it. In a moment, we're going to look at the Training Peaks version of this, and you'll see a slight difference. One thing I want to point out here is the difference between different systems and how they calculate things differently. And I want to stress again that these calculations, they're really not meant to be overly scientific. Don't look at these numbers and think to yourself, well, I have X amount of fitness, therefore I can do Y. That's not how this works. Again, just remember that it is relative to you, and various systems can give you different readings. And this is a great example. So you can see the Boogie Man's fitness is up. This is actually Training Peaks here. They do the calculations very similarly, but you'll see they come up with different numbers. Now, right now, the Boogie Man is at 79 fitness, which is actually very impressive. We just got done our team training camp where we did about 300 miles, 500 kilometers, and about 35,000 feet of climbing. So it doesn't surprise me that his fitness is this high, and we've done some moderate workouts, so his fatigue is up there, but it's not outrageous. you can see same point in time. This is today on Strava. So this is there's been about a week and a half period between the last two screenshots, this screenshot and the previous one. This shows a fitness level that's still very impressive, very nice. This is a predicted one, so I'm guessing that if he did a decent workout today, it would actually be higher than 75. But I'm also willing to bet his fatigue would be higher than 72. Training Peaks has a tendency to be a little bit more, I've found to be a little bit more accurate with fitness and fatigue. If you feel tired, your fatigue level is higher on Training Peaks, whereas on Strava sometimes it doesn't always line up. Again, these are good baselines, good ideas, but they're not scientific, so don't count on it that way. Bear in mind, though, again, between Strava and Training Peaks, they're going to be pretty similar. This is an actual. It's not predicting, so this is based on his last effort. On Strava, it is predicting right now what he will be at today, but the reality is when he does his workout today, which is like a 65 TSS, or actually even a little higher, it'll show his fitness will have gone up. So if I were to take this reading at 8 p.m. tonight after his workout, it would probably say 78 or 79. It'd be right in line with here. But his fatigue will also be higher and his form will be lower. But again, don't count on these numbers too much. Don't necessarily assume that just because you have a high number here, you're ready for races. Let's face it, it's not always about strength or fitness. It's sometimes about, what's going on between your ears in the race to determine whether you're going to do well or not. So that is my take on the Fitness and Freshness, whether it's in Strava or Training Peaks. Curious to know what you guys think about your Fitness and Freshness scores, your fitness and fatigue scores. Have you found them to be useful? Have you not found them to be useful? Do you find them to be right on, or do you find them to be just BS? How do you use them to prep for races? Do you like to see your fatigue go down prior to going to a race, or do you like to see your fitness go up? Seems to be that they're linked to each other. So if your fitness goes up, your fatigue goes up. So do you want your fatigue to be lower and your fitness to potentially be lower? Or do you want your fitness to be super high and just accept that you may have some higher fatigue too? Kind of curious to know how everybody uses it. Now, this feature is one of the premium features for Strava under the Summit Strava feature. And I have to admit, the Boogie Man and I have been considering dropping the Summit features of Strava, just because using Training Peaks, for example, there's much more metrics. There's far more capability for monitoring your performance and tracking all of that. Haven't really decided on that yet. We got a few more months until our Summit features run out, but I kind of wonder if anybody has any takes on that. So what do you use? What do you do to track your fitness and freshness, and how do you feel that it helps? Feel free to leave some comments below. If there's any questions, I can maybe do a follow-up on this to address any of those questions. So once again, thanks for joining us on the channel, and we will be back soon. Also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like the video. If you would like to share this video, that'd be great. I think there's hopefully some useful information in there. If you're not already a member, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to hit that 1,000 subscribers mark. That's ever so important on YouTube, and we can help make more content that way. So thanks a lot, and we will see you soon.